Welcome back, guys. Another episode. Just myself and Alec today. Alec, how you doing, partner?
Hey, how's everyone doing?
Good, good. We've been pretty busy lately. Haven't really got to talk markets. I guess we can just get right into it. Since we've talked global macro, we've seen a big rally in the dollar, and that's actually something that we've been pretty adamant about for a while. Is that if the
Yeah.
euro couldn't get through 125, we still had to kind of break down from 121 to kind of have confirmation of the intermediate term rolling over. But we've been pretty relentless about saying this dollar is still in a long-term bull market, and that's really started to break out here last week and the week before. So anyway, that's to us that's the biggest thing going on in global macro. I think oil's WTI is above 70 today. But then as far as the Bitcoin price goes, we're still pretty firm. We actually just failed over the weekend, just in front of 10,000, the cash market. Um, I actually was trying to sell out of some of our long and futures from Thursday and Friday at just in front. I think I was offering like 99.90, 9,900. And that's the tough thing is about this cash market that trades over the weekend. Futures close Friday. They don't open up till Sunday. So you kind of it's tough. Sometimes you almost have to be more aggressive selling out of your cash if you know your futures might not get there. Because we made the high, over the weekend. When was the high, Alec? Like Sunday night?
Yeah, it was over the weekend. I don't remember the day.
So the cash made the high and then backed off, 200 points or so. So then the futures actually end up opening down, even though the market traded higher over the weekend. But the market's still intermediate term bullish, still long term bullish as far as the trend goes. And then we can talk a little bit about the cycle if you want here. That we've been talking about this sine wave, and it's usually an 8.6 count that we like to keep an eye on. But the market basically turned right on a dime right at this last cycle. And that's what we were kind of focused on last week. It was right into 10,000. You had the 200 above the market. Everybody has that moving average on their chart. 10,000 is obviously just a big round number for people that aren't even maybe even following, the technicals that much. So not surprised that we kind of struggled up there, but overall, I mean, the market hasn't done anything wrong. We just first time up, we kind of backed off. So
It's kind of what you expect when you see numbers like that.
yeah, exactly. I mean, we've had a good rally here off of 6,500. I guess that was back in, we bought them in the middle of April. So here we are today, May 7th. And the market, if you go look at a chart, anybody, if you're driving or in the gym or something, you go home and you look at a chart of Bitcoin, you'll see this massive 4 hour bullish candle on, give you the exact date here, April 12th, right? And that was this big kind of short squeeze. And then that was the igniting bar that started this whole rally. So that bar closed at 7,735, and we're trading at 93.59 right now in GDEX. So it's been a big rally. And we'll see. 10,000 is a big level. We've been kind of talking about it for a while. That's kind of all I got as far
Yeah,
as
so
the
how are
price
you
section.
playing it right now? That it's backed off 10?
Yeah, so well, we just talked about it in our room. So what we care about on the downside is the higher lows. So that's what's defining the uptrend. This is an intermediate term uptrend that I'm talking about. So you can look at an hourly chart, a 4 hour chart, but the higher lows um, that are in place right now is down around 88.25. So we actually we actually bought Litecoin, Ethereum. I didn't add to any Bitcoin today just because I'm kind of long enough. So, but some guys added on this 4 hour cycle that's pretty low as we speak. And so we said, all right, if you add here at 93.50 or so, um, even all the way back to that 88.25 level, you want to be a buyer. If we break 88.25, then maybe we have to play some defense, cut some of
Mm.
that position back. Um, but yeah, as long as this intermediate term uptrend's in place, you just want to keep buying the dip. And then obviously 10,000 is the top of the range on the upside. If we get above there, then the next big level is 12,000. And in other news, what do we have?
I don't know. We've been on for a few weeks now, pretty busy. But I think the biggest news was it 2 weeks ago? Nasdaq CEO came out and said that they were open to become a cryptocurrency exchange in the future.
Yeah, it seems like that was probably, just a matter of time. I mean, it's positive for the space. And there's so many exchanges out there. I mean, there's a lot of opportunity in being an exchange. I don't know why they wouldn't want to, and those guys got the capital to do it the right way. So
yeah, it kind of shows how, I don't know, short-sighted some people are about worrying about a few $1,000 drop off a big number like 10,000 when we still have news like that on the horizon.
Yeah, absolutely. Markets, we're still building out this asset class, but that's great to have those guys in there and wanting to do it. I'd like to see him do that. I know I've kind of been in meetings and really didn't get to follow the Twitter stream, but so it sounded like Ethereum was meeting with CFTC.
Yeah,
is that new news today?
Sure. I think a lot of people hyped it up as FUD or I don't know. I wasn't really following it, but it seems like a lot of other people are. Apparently, there's no SEC hearing today. It was just kind of something that stuck for some reason on Twitter and spread.
Yeah, probably.
I mean, there wasn't even a mention of a hearing on the SEC or FTC official websites.
Well, hearing, I guess I would take that as a little bit more negative. What I read was there's a meeting. To me, I immediately thought that maybe they're talking about Ethereum futures.
Yeah, I don't think there was any official hearing. It was just a routine discussion in private behind closed doors on regulating all crypto in general.
I see. Okay.
So we're non-headline.
Yeah, so we're still going around, and everything seems to be regulation. Definitely seems to be driving the narrative, except for today. We've got, Bill Gates, Warren, and Munger all sitting side by side, having a negative opinion about Bitcoin.
Yeah,
which is fine.
Yeah, I mean that's not what they do. They don't invest in the newest tech.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, I guess that could be your excuse. You missed the entire internet.
Well, maybe he didn't miss it. I don't know. He's a value investor, right? He invests to things that have earning history. And
yeah, I guess it's true.
I mean, he waits for the price to drop below that value and then buys it.
But he said Apple's not a tech company.
They're a consumer company.
Yeah.
Well,
those guys are losing it over there. It's all right. They're up there. They've obviously had a lot of success. They're also part of the establishment, though, which kind of gets me a little bit ornery about the whole thing.
Yeah, I mean, they have a right to dislike it, I guess. I mean, but the fact that he's in the headlines all the time, always has something to say about it, I don't understand.
Well, and then his argument today was, or whatever it was, I just saw the CNBC interview for a second, and he said, no, you can't, why would I buy Bitcoin? Because it's not an asset, doesn't produce anything. Well, easy, Warren. How about the days where you got caught manipulating silver? Silver, I mean, what does silver produce? It's precious metals. What is gold? He's traded commodities plenty of times, and not the stuff that you eat or put in your car. I mean, silver it has some industrial use, but so does gold a little bit.
Yeah, I don't agree with him being in the news just negatively talking about crypto, but maybe it's just people asking him questions. What do you think about crypto every week? And he's not just gonna not answer it, and people have their headline.
Yeah, they like to drive it. Mm-hmm. Well, he's got plenty of FX risk, and what does the euro produce? I mean, it's just like crypto really needs to be in its own asset category. You can't compare it to stocks. That's not fair. Just like you can't compare the euro to, what does the euro produce? Nothing. Does the dollar produce?
Yeah.
Oh, anyway, those are the typical things. And then I guess, yeah, you got Bill Gates. He said he was long and then he sold it. So, all right, Bill. I mean, nice
Well,
sale. Sold it a little early.
yeah, I know people like to value opinions like that, but he doesn't seem to do a lot of investing or anything like that anymore.
Oh, 'cause he said he would short it if it was easy. And I mean, you got Bitcoin futures. It's pretty easy. You could open up an account and like,
Exactly. It's just,
it's a little bit of paperwork. But anyway, I mean we've probably seen like 5 headlines like that today. So I guess it's on the top of our mind.
yeah, maybe they're just knocking it so they can buy a better price. I don't know. I don't know. When you see everything on one side, that just it's just kind of showing that there's a lot of upside potential here.
Yeah,
I
no,
mean, you see all
exactly.
the talent. For every headline you see like that, there's probably a whole bunch of talent leaving the traditional assets and flocking right to crypto.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly.
You know,
And the market trades pretty well considering that. I mean, there's times, I guess probably in February that we got a headline like that and we'd be down, 1,000 points.
mm-hmm.
And today it looks like we put in some pretty good bottoming tails a couple hours ago on like the 4 hour and hourly chart. So that's kind of why we added back, added a little bit more today. We'll see if we can. Maybe we'll be back on the highs overnight. That would be a pretty strong sign.
Yeah, it's it's probably indicative of just more volume coming in, right?
Yeah, yeah.
Everything's gonna start leveling
Um,
out a little bit.
I mean, Alex. So, what do you? I mean, when we think about catalysts, what do you think the next big catalyst is on the upside for the rest of the year?
I think it's gonna be the development. So regulation, I don't know. We really can't call that. You know, how soon? I think July. There's going to be another G20 summit that they said they'd have a little more concrete
Hmm.
information about crypto regulations. So I think July. I think it's July 2nd, but I'll have to take a look at that. If not, I mean, when you have the two leading Bitcoin and Ethereum, when they have all these developments coming up, Ethereum has Casper, Plasma, and Bitcoin is just slowly rolling out the
Yeah,
Lightning Network.
yeah.
So I think as people start using those and they start being pushed to test nets and then live, I
Hmm.
think those are going to act as a catalyst.
Yeah. No, that's true.
Because I think a lot of this is people are just kind of there was a lot of development and then the next batch of development was being created. So there's kind
Hmm.
of a lull for the major players.
Hmm.
There wasn't a huge Bitcoin development or Ethereum development the last year or two.
Yeah. No, that's yeah.
I think once people start seeing that, or Bitcoin goes over 10,000, and
Just
CNBC and
people just
everyone's
chase. Yeah.
yeah, yeah. If it hits,
Yeah,
if,
that's
if it
true.
goes over 10, it's not just gonna stop there.
Well, I mean, you and I know that there's 12,000 as resistance. It's just, I think exactly right. There's so many retail people that don't pay attention to the chart. They're just going to see it.
Mm-hmm.
It's going to start making headlines again. No, it wasn't on TV very much down at 6,000, 6,500. But, higher it goes, it'll
Yeah.
be the same thing again. More,
Yep. And it's
you
just
know,
gonna be even. I think it's gonna come more rapid than last time. I mean, we have all this infrastructure built now. Coinbase is hiring a few hundred more customer service reps. They're really trying to get in that custodian game.
yeah,
And I mean, when you have your average Joe going to his financial advisor and asking how to get involved in Bitcoin, a few years ago, even last year, they usually say no. They can't do it.
yeah,
But now some of them are starting to roll out where they put a percent or two into some crypto.
yeah.
And
No,
I
that's
can't
true.
imagine those all add up.
Yeah, that's big. I mean, what's going on with Robinhood? That was kind of a big thing in the news. What last year, end of last year?
Yeah.
I haven't really
Yeah. I mean, they're just rolling
followed the
out slowly.
progress.
I think it's a lot of work to get regulation in check. So,
Yeah.
I mean, we've personally seen the demand for the over the counter trades. Those
Oh
haven't been
yeah.
slowing down.
No, they have not been slowing down. I mean, we've got as soon as we had that short squeeze and that big
Mm-hmm.
move, like I talked about at the top of the show, literally 2 days later, all kinds of big players, big blocks saying, "Hey, I got a buyer here, I got a seller here." I mean, first we were seeing 3,000-4,000 Bitcoin, not the price, 3,000 to 4,000 coins. Still trying to, still seeing flow of 100,000 coins. Um, so that's big money, and
Mm-hmm.
that's good to see. I think there's a lot of miners that need to do stuff up here. I mean, pretty
Mm-hmm.
profitable to be selling Bitcoin near 10,000. But people are also getting more bullish. Um, I think there is a lot of bigger institutional money, probably the faster money that's not so regulated. That's probably more hedge fund money. Um,
Mm-hmm.
Maybe some more private type of fund money that isn't regulated as much, that wants big exposure to the asset class, and they're not, they're not stupid. They much rather buy 7,000, 8,000 after it stops. After they want a lot of firms will watch it go lower, and then they want to see it come up first. So
Mm-hmm.
watching to see if 6,000 held, it did. This last time down in April we had 6,500. So then when we start to move up back through 7, they're like, all right, looks like we held. Now we want to get involved, and I think we've seen that on the buy side ever since for all of May and the last 2 weeks of April.
Mm-hmm.
So I think that tells you that there's a pretty good put below the market, or there's a pretty good bid. Even if we backed up towards 8,000, I think all that same buying interest is going to come back in. And when I talk to guys that are on these kind of over the counter desks, or they kind of see this flow, have a little bit more experience, they all talk about, I mean, there's not a whole lot of big chunks of Bitcoin out there. Most people that have it really do want to hold it. So it's kind of like when that sentiment changes, it's tough to grab big chunks of it. And, most of the big buyers really aren't really willing to sell.
Mm-hmm.
It seems like more of any kind of supply that comes on the market comes from the miners, which is kind of interesting. Because I know, like in treasuries, obviously, if you're a bond trader, where does the supply come from? It comes from, people issuing debt, right? So whether it's the companies issuing big chunks of debt, or a big corporate deal, or obviously the governments selling you know,
Mm-hmm.
doing their auctions every month.
Yeah.
But in here in the digital asset space, I think the miners are probably the biggest supply side guys.
That's what it
Could you
seems like for now. Yeah.
could you think of anybody else like that would? I mean,
No, really. I was just kind of thinking about how interesting it is that there's a whole dynamic of the buy and hold. And I wonder how much that really affects the volatility that so many people are holding. There's not a lot of people trading.
yeah,
So,
that's
I mean,
true.
that's got to just really be a catalyst for moves up and down. Just all the volatility with less volume.
Yeah, yeah.
Uh,
And this space is just so small and liquid to begin with. I mean, you can
yeah.
barely see anything trading on these exchanges, and then there's a massive block that somebody will just hit out, and just
Yeah.
get those price won't move. Then all of a sudden, boom, we move 200 points straight down inside of 1 minute.
So what makes it fun though?
Yeah. Yep. So I'm trying to think what else. We still have our favorites, Cardano. Made some pretty good sales, and I would just encourage anybody that if you guys are want to trade more, or you kind of want some help on the timing side, or just want to see what it looks like to kind of be banging it around a little bit more intraday and on the hourly. Our chat room, we're talking about, hey, we've been up here twice on Cardano. Even though we're bullish, it makes sense to raise some cash up here, because we want to compound our results on these hourly and 4-hour dips.
Mm-hmm.
Um, so we made some pretty good sales last week, and then we bought some back today. what else did I say? I said Litecoin we added to today, Ethereum. I won't go through all our buys, just kind of leave that for our paid subscribers.
Did you get out of EOS and then move up?
Still trailing out a piece.
Mm-hmm.
That's been one of our biggest winners this year.
Yeah.
We were pretty quick to say that was one of the first coins that was kind of breaking out while Bitcoin was still kind of going sideways in the early part of April. EOS took off first. Yeah, do you still have a position on there, Alec?
Not a lot of EOS. I've been trying to play around some of these smaller coins. I haven't had a lot of time to watch the charts, so I've been holding them for a little bit.
Yeah, EOS still looks good.
Yeah.
There's a lot of coins. Just to give our viewers or our listeners an idea, if you want to chart EOS versus Bitcoin, so in April, Bitcoin was still sliding sideways at the beginning of April. EOS started breaking out the end of March, the 30th, 31st. And since then, versus just BTC, we've seen the market go at the end of the week, last week, we were already up 172%. And this is versus Bitcoin, and Bitcoin's rallied, Bitcoin's been very firm. So even taking EOS divided by the Bitcoin price, which has been increasing, you still have a massive run. We're actually getting a pretty good pullback here that probably should get involved with. It's something we're keeping an eye on the next dip.
Yeah.
I think that's had a lot of activity when you look at like the GitHub activity and stuff. You follow that more than I do, right?
Yeah, they've been doing all right. So there's so many different projects, and everything's just kind of coming to mainnet, and all the developments are all lining up for these next few months span. So I think it's going to be pretty interesting. A lot of these coins are going to see a lot of good rallies.
Yeah.
Everyone's just been waiting around, like we talked about earlier.
0x is another one we really liked.
Yeah.
Massive run. I mean, it's just amazing to me as a trader to hear people want to badmouth a market, but I mean, I sat through the negative rates, and when we took our rates even down to 0 and kept them there for a couple of years, and man, the bond market would not even move. It was miserable to day trade. But I mean, here we have 0x, like technology is doing all kinds of things that they're definitely producing.
Mm-hmm.
And it's up 100% in 30 days. I mean, that is great as a trader. I mean, that's what I want. I'm happy for it to pull back another 50% right from here. And you're just going to add back in. That chart looks great. Everything is pretty much in an intermediate term bull market right now. We just need to really kind of get the daily chart and the weekly charts making higher highs again, and that's above 10,000 BTC, above 12,000, and then I think you're going to see even more momentum come in.
Yeah, everything's still just kind of following whatever Bitcoin does, kind of loosely.
Yep.
And that 10,000 is just people saw it, and
yep,
it's exactly what we expected.
Yeah, Monero looks pretty good right here today. Back at the 30-day, that's rising. That's showing you the positive momentum.
I think Monero is just added today to Circle Exchange.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, as their 7th coin you can actually trade on their platform.
Wow. You think Coinbase will give them a shot, or you think they're too worried about the privacy issue?
I don't know.
I kind of think they'll chicken out, honestly.
Yeah, I think so too. I think Ethereum's all these ERC20 tokens, well, at least the big ones, are going to be next. Probably Ripple, maybe Monero. It would make sense if Circle did it.
I mean, I'm all for it. They kind of rolled over on the. I don't want to criticize them because they've done so much for the space. I mean, but a lot of people in the community, when the IRS came knocking, they kind of, in their minds, it seems like they kind of rolled over a little bit. I don't know how much people are going to, like a firm like that's going to want to deal with.
Yeah.
The IRS and privacy coins on their own platform when, IRS already kind of teed them up first.
Yeah, they're in a tough spot, which a lot of people give them a hard time for that. But I can't imagine how much they're responsible for pushing adoption levels of Bitcoin and Ethereum and Litecoin in the States. I mean, how
Yeah,
they've made it so easy and safe to get involved for the average person.
yeah,
Plus their user interface. I mean, anyone can figure that out.
right.
People like to bash them, but they're
Uh,
they're pretty much the only ones you can really get involved with in the States. The average person's not going to make a Gemini or Binance account and trade on a bids asks.
right.
They just want to buy Bitcoin.
Yeah, just keep it simple.
Yep.
It's already complicated enough. There's enough to learn about.
Yeah. Bring in more volume here for us.
Well, I didn't have that much to add. I just wanted to talk a little bit about this cycle I was talking about earlier and just how amazing. I've always kind of one of our missions with our last firm and what we're doing with BlockEdge Capital and what we're doing at Rhythm is we're cycle guys. So I think a lot of the financial industry doesn't do a whole lot with cyclical analysis, and I think that's really the component. The time piece is what really matters. I mean, price matters, but time almost matters more. And so we were talking last week a lot about this this sine wave that we were following, and it's just done an amazing job. And I'm just going to describe what I'm talking about here. When you overlay this, one of these, there's different kinds of cycles, obviously, and there's different waves. Everything's connected. You can have transverse waves, longitudinal waves, and that's true in any field. When we're talking about science, but this particular wave that we were looking at, and this is the stuff that we do, but it's amazing that when we talk about cycles, you have the peaks and the troughs within the cycle. And what's key to understand, and is not about whether price is going to make a high with the peak in the cycle and then a low with the trough in the cycle. It's about turning points around those cycles or benchmarks. Obviously, if we only made highs with the cycle, right, we'd never be able to advance. And so, kind of how you trade around the cycles matters. It's not just one factor type of thing. But the high that we made on Bitcoin, guys, back in December, the first time we rallied into 20,000, we basically failed right in line with the bottom of this sine wave that we follow. All right, and then fast forward to the next peak in the cycle came here on the end of December, and that's actually when Bitcoin had already gone to 20,000, double top, failed, and then some people call it a crash. I mean, it was pretty much a crash. It went from 20,000 back to our pi line around 11,000 intraday, even a little bit lower, and then we actually had a nice bottom right there, and that was a cycle inversion. That was the next benchmark cycle time frame, and so we made a low right there with the peak in the cycle. Cycles rolls over. Guess what? We made another high in Bitcoin exactly with the cycle. That was at 17,000 back in January. We had another cycle high, and so this pattern's been playing out, and this cycle wave is it's about 3 weeks long. Mm-hmm. And so we just had another cycle play out here that I was talking about at the top of the show, where we got a high this weekend. And so the next turning point on this cycle that we're talking about is around May 20th, 21st. So does that mean that the market, because it couldn't get above 10,000, that we kind of go sideways to down into that May 2021 period? And the answer is yeah, that's very possible. We could also rally if we get above 10,000 relatively soon. Then you'd also should expect that we rally into that turning point. And so there's other things to consider, but it's just amazing. I was just teaching on this last week, and so this is the 10th time out of 11 of these cycles that the market's turned exactly with the bottom or the top of the cycle. So having a feel of those turning points is pretty major. I mean, if you're bullish and you get lower than the cycle and it looks like you're gonna, it lines up with some other things in your model, it's a great tool to use on your timing. We were kind of taking some profits last week because of the same thing. So anyhow, it's kind of hard to go over. But Alec, we put out some videos on that last week, right, for the public?
Yeah, I think there's a few longer webinars on there too.
Yeah. Or just guys, just come join us in our chat room. Come, join our $99 a month paid room. We're trading around all these different coins, putting in buy and sell signals. Our models, it's got a great consistency rate. Every time we run it, it's between 75 to 85% consistency on our buy and sell signals. That's across asset classes when we're issuing the same stuff in treasuries and in futures and forex markets.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And I'm just gonna add that. Check out BlockEdge Capital if you want any research. BlockEdgeCapital.com. All the research, analysis, news. We offer startups, development, legal, business, and marketing solutions for projects.
Yeah. Yep. So that's all I got, buddy.
Yeah. Until next time, guys.
All right. We'll talk to you guys.